Okay, let's continue on to WC and cut. Those are both very good commands, and we are going to start with WC and then have some examples, and then move on to cut and some examples there. WC is word count. It calculates a number of words, lines, or characters in a file, and it returns those values in order from left to right. So you would use the syntax WC, then some options, which could be maybe you only want to list the number of lines, or only the number of characters, or only the number of words uh, for this file here. So let's try and run some examples here, and we will again use the same directory. And please type along. I will try to type in a more reasonable speed. So first, let's try and say WC on some file. And my file 1.txt is a useful file. So are many of the others, but let's use this here. And I'm showing you here what's inside of it, which is this. Um, I'm just reading the chat. Does anyone know why number of characters is -m and not -c? What does m stand for in this case? I don't know why they picked m instead of that, instead of c. Possibly they wanted to avoid using a c because that was the last letter of c. I don't know. Maybe it's from a different language. I don't know why they did this. But I'm going to say WC on my file 1.txt. And then you see the number of lines, which is 4. You see the number of words, 15, and the number of characters, 80. And it seems very reasonable that this is the case. We'll just clear this here. So you can also do this on a number of files. You can do it, for instance, on all the files in the directory, or maybe you want to look at some specific ones. So let's try and take all the text ones. And then you get how many lines are in each of them, and how many words, and how many characters. And then also it will sum them up at the bottom here. So again, quite useful. And of course, you could also sort this if you wanted to with sort. And I'm going to do that in a moment. WC, you could say maybe you only want the number of lines or words or characters. So you could say WC minus L, and then where's this my file 1.txt. Then it only tells you that there is 4 lines. Let's instead do this that I just mentioned. Let's look at the full word count on all the files that has a suffix text. And then let's type this output here, which is the same as we just got, and to sort and sort it numerically. And when you do that, you get this same output here, but sorted by the first column here, as you can see. If you type WC and you don't give it an input, then it assumes it has to wait for input and just escape that with Control C. So what if you are running WC on very many files? Because then you get the output to the screen, and then maybe it fills more than one screen, maybe it fills a lot of screens, it's difficult to read, and you could send it to a file instead if you wanted to do that. So let's say we wanted to do word count and get number of lines and do that with all the text files. And then we could simply send it to, redirect it to file length dot text. And now there is a file length dot text. And let's look what's inside of it. It's exactly what we had before. And then that could be useful if you needed it. You could also have simply, just a moment, piped it instead with the pipe operator to, for instance, more. Because, well, now let's start another small window and then go into intermediate bash. And now you can see if I am doing WC minus L on all the files that ends in text, it fills more than a screen. So I'm piping it to more, because then, as before, it shows you the output in several screenfuls. So that is what you could do. Okay, let's take some exercises. And the exercises again should be run on these files in piping WC cut. And there are 3 exercises this time. Pick the correct option to WC to count the number of words, the correct option to count the number of characters, and then check how many lines in total are in all files in the directory piping WC cut, so not just the text files. And I don't think this will take very long, so let's just take until 9:40. So continue to the command cut. Cut is a command used to extract sections from each line of input. And it has a syntax that looks like this. Cut minus B, which is bytes, and a list, minus C, which is characters, a list, minus F, which is fields, and again a list. And those could be separated by a delimiter, which you can change with minus D, it's tab character by default. Minus N in combination with minus B suppresses splits of multi-byte characters. Minus S bypasses lines which contain no field delimiter when minus F is specified. And it can do so on, for instance, a file or on some input, sorry. A range must be provided in each case here, and that would be either N, which would be from there to the end of the line, or minus M, beginning of the line until the point M, or between 2 points in 2 places in a line. And N and M are counted from 1, not 0, which is worth noting because it's often from 0 in computer science. So that is important. So let's again look at the files in this directory in piping -vc -cut, and then try and cut with the -b flag. And you see here b was bytes. So let's try and pick the first n bytes of a line. I'm going to work on the file new file.txt. I'm going to show you how this file looks inside. It's like this here. And I'm going to try and do a cut in this file. And I'm going to ask for the first byte only. First 1 byte of the file. And then you get the first byte of each line of this file, as you can see here. You could also take the second one. Or you could take the first two. Or somewhere further in. Like this. So you simply cut out a part of the lines of this file. And this is not very useful in this case, but if you, for instance, had a file with columns of data, then maybe you just wanted to grab one of the columns and you could use this for that. So let's instead try and use -c. That is the number of characters which will be returned. And right now, -b and -c does not do anything different for this command, but they are working on adding multi-byte support, and that will probably give a different behavior in the future. But right now, those two options will do the same. And because of that, I will suggest that you simply just use one of them. Use the B one for now, because -c option will probably change and do more in a future version of cut. So cut with the -f and delimiter flags. So let's remember that -d is we are picking a delimiter. Default, this is tab, but we could set it to, for instance, a blank space. And we do that with -d, and then this, I don't remember the English word for these. Quotes, sorry. -d quotes, and then the word, the type of delimiter, space, tab, colon, comma, anything you want to use to delimit your data or something in your file. And then -f for which words in it. Let's go up here and remind you that -f is fields, and fields could be words, it could be numbers, it could be anything, whatever it is that is divided by these delimiters. So let's try and do this again, and this we are going to do on this file 8. And I'm going to show you that this file 8 has a bit of more stuff in it. And this is a file I made so that it would have different types of delimiters to play with. So there are spaces and there are commas and there are colons and things here. So So this can be used for playing with here. So I will do cut minus F, and then I say I want the fields 2 to 4. So in this here, if I am doing a space of a delimiter of a space, then it would be here and to here. One and 2, 3, 4. So it would take those, for instance, from this line. Those. So let's do that. And then we are saying we want a different delimiter. We are not using tab. We are using space. And then we are working on this file 8 text. And as you can see here, it's grabbing from each of these lines the field, or in this case, word that is on place 2, 3, and 4. And it has spaces between. Now, this first line here only has one space. That means that all of this here is the first field. This is the second field, so it's only grabbing that, as you can see here. And some of the others have more. Sorry. So what happens if we instead use the delimiter colon? As you can see, there are colons in this one here. I'm using arrow up to get my command from before. And then I'm going back here and I'm saying I don't anymore want a space as the delimiter. I want a colon. So now it looks different because there are colons in the first line, in the first one here. So here is field 1. We are not taking that. We are taking field 2, field 3, and field 4, as you can see here. And the same from the other lines. Okay. And what if we say wanted to take all the lines from, for instance, spot 3 and then all the way to the end? We can do that by taking a 3 and then a line to say that we are taking the rest of them. So we are taking everything from spot 3 and then to the end. Let's again show what's inside of this file here. And you can see several of them did not actually have a third place in the line when you are delimiting it with a colon. So let's try and make a different again and only take the third and the fourth. And that gives us something that's almost the same because I don't have that many fields inside of it. And let's see. Yeah, you can also use the default delimiter, of course, and grab fields 3 and 4. If you do that, then you just say, I remove the delimiter. Now it goes back to the default, which is tab. And I didn't really have any tabs in this, or not very many, so it just throws out everything. I actually had a tab at an earlier time when I did this, but I don't right now. So you can try if you want to, and I think it might actually be a good idea for you to test this out now before. Let's see how many different exercises. I think I would like you to take a couple of minutes to try and do this yourself and actually see that this happens as I suggested here, and see what's going on. So most files don't have fixed length files, and that's why you cut by fields instead of columns. So, but let's take 5 minutes until 9:58, and then simply try these exercises and maybe also try and play around with it and see what output you get. You can also make changes to this file here or use a different one and see what you get. Yeah, take 5 minutes. I will continue, and I will just give an example, because there's also a data file, data.dat, and that has some columns of data, which is also very nice to play with. And you can use that to test cut as well. So let's try and cut for instance, 2 and 3. And then we are delimiting it with the space. And then we're doing that on data.dat. And now you can see you can actually grab 2 columns, for instance, which is useful. So when you have a data file like this, then it actually seems useful to use this command here. And I'm actually going to let you do some exercises on this as well, and also create a file where you use the colon delimiters. So I want you to do some more exercises for the rest of the time here. We have 5 minutes about. And after that, we are going to go into a break. And then Richelle will take over. But I feel it's very important to actually test this out well, because it's a somewhat convoluted command. So try and do these exercises here. And at 10:05, you will have a break for, is it 10 or 15 minutes, Richelle?
15 minutes.
15 minutes. Okay.